Okay, so this is Michelle with Bad Cat Digital, and I am working on that Boho Baby for our Quilt-a-long, and of course, predictably, I screwed up. So these right here, these pieces are intended to be these pieces here in the pattern. And what I did wrong, if you can kind of see that my pieces are kind of blunt on both sides, right? And then these pieces have these kind of like background square. Oh, my nails look really dirty. And they're not. Okay. But these pieces have kind of these background triangles, and you see how they're angled. So of course what I did was I forgot to add in my background pieces and then put in the angles, so, and then flip them like a half square triangle. So what I'm going to do is I got my stitch seam ripper out. Yay, I like these bladed ones. It just works for me better. The kind of two-pronged ones, I tend to like poke them through the fabric. Yeah, anyway, so I like these better, but not everybody loves these. So but I had put my centerpiece in already, and I don't really feel like ripping out the stitches on the whole thing. And so what I did was I pulled the stitches just as far as I need to, because this stitch is going to go from the corner and then down this way. Now when I do the other side, I'm going to go the other direction because it's going to follow the line here. So it's going to go this way, so I'm going to have to rip out more. But at least this way I don't have to rip out the whole thing. One of the reasons that I don't want to rip out the whole thing is, again, because these chambray fabrics, see, they can tend to unravel a little bit, and so when you're pulling stitches and then putting back in, that stresses out the fabric. So I want to do that as little as possible, but I do have to get this sorted out and fixed. So of course I messed up, and of course we're going to get it fixed so as quickly as possible. So I'm going to do that tonight. We're going to put our basically just chop off this corner like it's a half square triangle. So I'm putting my square on, and then I'm going to stitch down at a 45-degree angle, and then I'm going to fold this way. I'm going to trim this off and then fold this way and press, and therefore I will have my arrow shape when I do both sides on all four. And then I have 4 of these, so I have to do this 16 times, 1 2 3 4 times 4, and then I'll be ready to go, and I will feel less like I'm behind because I screwed up. So my next step after I do this is to finish the arrows. So stay tuned. Okay, Michelle with Seems Like Quilting back again. We are doing the Quilt-a-long. This is Boho Baby by Laura Strickland. And again, we did our arrows. So the first week we did our foundation strip piecing. Then we put our kind of arrow together. You might have remembered that I messed up and I didn't put the background on, but we've got that now. And then what we did this week was we just put together the rest of the arrow. So it's actually a pretty simple arrow. So we have just a square at the end. We've got our piece that we made previously, and then we have a long strip that's strip pieced. A very simple flying goose, because there's only one on the flying goose. I mean, I made flying geese, but there's flying goose, and then a square on the end. So again, remembering that our chambray fabric, so this blue kind of denim is the Tilda chambray in, I think the color is actually called denim. So it's you can see that it's a looser weave. You can see that it frays a little bit. This is actually really a wonderful chambray fabric. It doesn't fray that much. The Tilda fabric is great. And we used all chambrays for the colors for this, and then also for this background. If anybody wonders how we got this like super thin line right here, well, it was just happenstance. I did a strip piecing on here, and then when I put the square on the corner to fold it, I ended up with this really thin, I think it looks really cool, like piping or something. I got that in a couple of spaces, which is great. One thing I did want to point out about this pattern is that you're going to join these pieces right in the middle. It'll be super obvious if this didn't line up really well. So what I did to help with that was this piece, I pressed it with toward the center, so toward the white, and then this piece I pressed it away from the white, and that way when I pieced them together I was able to nestle the seams right there. That is really the trickiest part of putting this arrow together. The other thing to keep in mind is that when you're doing a long, really long strip piece, one of the ways that one of the tricks to keeping it straighter is to piece like in one direction, to sew in one direction on one piece and the other direction coming the other way on the other piece. And really with something like this, if you leave the blue on the bottom, put the white on top, sew down, and then when you press it, then the white stays on the bottom then you do the same thing. You put the blue on the bottom and the white piece on top, and you're going to go in the opposite direction when you stitch it. So those are the kinds of tips for this week. But otherwise, we've just got our long arrows pointing off into the distance. And then if we go back to our pattern, so those are right here on the pattern. You can see obviously we're doing a different colorway. And then our next step is to work on these zigzags. So you can see these zigzags, and then this bottom piece is a half a zigzag. So these zigzags are actually made, if you look right here, there's a seam right here. These zigzags are made with 2 flying geese, one with a white as the main part and one with the color as the main part, meaning the triangle, and then the other with the color as the triangle. So basically we're going to end up making 1, 2, 3, 4, lots of flying geese for this quilt. So I have to decide if we're going to do them all one color all the way across, or we're going to do this and kind of mix it up a little bit. So I'm going to play around and see what looks good. So that'll probably be our next video, is looking at, do we want to do this all one color all the way across, or do we want to do multiple color? I'm kind of torn. I think the multiple would look really pretty, but I also think that if they were all one color, the arrows would stand out more. So I'm kind of torn, but that is our next step with the Quilt-a-long with the Boho Baby. And again, if you joined us late, we do have kits for these on the website. If you just search Boho Baby, it's also on the home page. If you search Boho Baby, you can get the pattern, just the pattern, then use your own fabric, or you can purchase the kit. And then the kit is actually linked under the Vicky's Picks on the home page. So thank you all so much, and happy sewing.